Hi there, Cosmic Family. My name is Jahlial. The moon has entered in Capricorn, this cardinal earth sign that invites us to center ourselves in descending to earth possibilities, creating goals, but to focus in the most important part, which is the process that leads us to them. Because even in that process, the goals could change. Could reveal themselves in new forms. Sometimes we initiate projects and then we change as people, as individuals, and we have to readjust those goals, those objectives, sometimes in more realistic ways, and other times in ways that we can challenge ourselves and to develop potentials. The moon is anticipating the entrance of the sun to Capricorn that occurs tomorrow, December 21st. And well, there are a lot of transits perfecting tomorrow. The solstice itself it's a very important energetical opening of a cycle, and we have other major aspects happening that I mentioned on the last Sunday. I'm not going to talk about that, but I want to clarify that all the planetary positions of tomorrow are configuring the chart of the solstice, which is opening up a cycle of 3 months that goes until the next equinox. On the other side, in the list of reproduction below, you have two videos that I did a while ago about the square between Jupiter in Cancer and Chiron in Aries, because this is part of what I am mentioning right now. Being said that, I'm going to center myself in the square between Venus in Sagittarius and Saturn in Pisces, because Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. Therefore, the sun during its passage in this sign and the moon in the next 2 days and a half is responding to this planet and to the contacts that it's making. This is something that we have been feeling since days ago. It was part of the recent new moon in Sagittarius, and we could feel this easily until December 23rd. And as the same as it happened with this lunation, it is going to mix up with the tension between Venus and Neptune in Pisces that we are going to have in a few days. Let's go to the introduction. Venus in Sagittarius is the desire of plenitude, expansion, freedom. And this could be related with things, topics linked with resources, with purposes, because that is Sagittarius, and also relationships. And as it is facing a square with Saturn in Pisces, could be that some people are feeling restricted, limited in some of these areas. Perhaps because it is being generated a perception that certain processes are, too slow, much more than what a Venus environment desires. In other situations, could be presenting challenges, blockages, or relational conflicts that could generate a little bit of frustration. But they are going to have a function. This means that those blockages perhaps are showing the need of giving the value to oneself, being coherent or sustaining decisions from this inner authority. I mean, this part of ourselves that can recognize which is the decision that we need to assume with responsibility, not only to obtain different results if there is a situation that we want to change, but also to put boundaries to experiences that are actually taking away our energy and are not related to the sense of our path. And what actually has sense, this means what continues to accomplish an evolutionary function in our experience, what is teaching us or helping us to reveal light, is a recognition that we need to do with honesty with oneself, without mattering, if these experiences are among our expectations or not. I'm saying this because could be part of the path towards the desires of the soul. Accepting that we need to do certain things that require efforts, especially efforts of transcending our own patterns, patience, and confidence in our inner guidance. For example, we could be creating a project and suddenly, we have a challenge, or we have to make a decision that could lead us to expansion, but we need to limit something in other area. For example, restricting resources in some place to invest them in other. Or we have to do something that involves facing a fear or limitant beliefs over our capacities. And well, a shadow of Venus in Sagittarius could be linked, I'm going to put the focus in something that could be easier, or in situations that aren't actually responding to that purpose of the soul, principally as a mechanism of evasion that is very related with the energy of Pisces and the square with Neptune. And later, because dispersing our energy in something that could be a distraction could generate the sensation of satisfaction, but only temporary, and then guilt could appear because we know that in the long term, we know that that is something that is not contributing with what we want to achieve. Also, this applies to relational dynamics. I mean, if we are making choices of taking time with people that we don't feel that are inspiring us to grow, I am not referring only to romantic relationships or dynamics where we are, being the guidance, with quotation marks, for others, by exercising a dependency or giving too much so things can work out, but others are not actually taking responsibility for their own lives or are not putting off their part, to make a situation work. Or, these kind of things could be an indication that we need to put this limit, this boundary, and the same if there is an excessive dependency towards other people. In some cases, could be this denial, the optimism in denial of reality, very very attached to the shadow of Sagittarius, we could prevent by using that kind of mechanism to put those necessary patterns. But that denial, even if we are trying to force a relationship or a vision that we had of reality, if that is not truly aligned with what our soul needs to transit right now to expand itself, external situations are going to be presented that are, showing us the blockage that we need to face to redirect our energy or to do some change in the way that we are operating. Which is something that is very frequently in squares with Saturn, specifically talking about Venus in Sagittarius too. It is that it could emerge with more strength, limited beliefs, over our value, that anything is enough to generate changes, that we cannot move forward. Mental structures are put in evidence that are limiting the freedom of the soul, and in many occasions the greater restriction that we have is in our mind more than in external circumstances. It is our mind closing itself to the possibilities, because the path that we need to take is pushing us to develop maturity in ways that are not comfortable, whether because we have to understand that there are processes that require of our sustained labor, even if that is not giving immediate results, or whether because we need to make this effort of not allowing ourselves to be defeated by our own negativity and redirect that energy towards a different response in the face of what is happening. Or putting an end, a final point. I don't know if this expression is applied to English, but putting an end to situations that many times, from the conditionings that we have acquired over our self-esteem and what we think we deserve, we could want to perpetuate, but they are really being an obstacle to go towards the true desires of the soul, to live lives and relationships that, they could have their challenges and learnings, but we have to also share plenitude, contribute to each other, and positive and joyful experiences, but because it loses sense if we constantly have to resolve conflicts in relationships. That is speaking more of a pattern than, being learning something. Or if perhaps we are not allowing our own happiness, to ourselves, because of the fear to experiment things outside of what we know. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.